Dubrovnik Airport, the gateway to the Mediterranean for Croatia, is a hub for tourist traffic from across Europe, with dozens of narrow-body flights arriving daily. This airport features a scenic approach over the sea and a brand spanking new passenger terminal. iniBuilds has brought their own diesel rendition of this airport to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Let's find out if it's worth picking up. Before we get started with our review, let's do a quick tour of the airport just so we can get situated. We are right now sitting on the east end of the airport, sitting at the edge of runway 29, looking out towards the Adriatic Sea. On the right is a hillside, and on the left down here, as we go down the taxiway and along the runway, is the main airport. We have an apron over here for GA traffic as well as business aviation traffic. Some helicopter stands here. Moving along further to the west, we have the terminal with 4 major aircraft gates. And the terminal is entirely see-through and modeled in, the interior is fully modeled. We then have a fully modeled ground side area of the terminal, including pretty well detailed road markings, as well as the parking lot and what appears to be the rental car lot. Moving along further to the west, we have more apron space, as well as areas for airplanes to park, and then the fueling dock here. Moving along to the end of runway 11, we have the drop off towards the rest of the town, as well as some modeled approach lights, which all light up. Not very easy to see during the day, but they do. And then you can see what the approach looks like. It's very scenic with the mountains on the left side and the sea on the right side. Getting into town, they have modeled, iniBuilds has modeled a few things to increase users' enjoyment of the scenery. They've modeled this bridge, which is not really a bridge, but an aqueduct almost, that is visible from the approach, so it's clearly not messing up like typical Microsoft Flight Simulator roads sometimes do when they are modeled as a bridge. Sometimes you'll have visual artifacts, so that is nicely modeled. Then moving into the town, we do have a couple of buildings which are modeled and are very visible from the approach. We have this hotel, which has been modeled. Not relatively detailed, honestly, for considering how far away it is from the approach. So that's a very nice detail. The harbor area looks like it's gotten a little bit of love here, a little bit of touching up. Obviously very nice with the approach there in the background. And then some more buildings over here off to the right, as well as some detailed rock work here along the coast. So overall, a lot of detail for the approach onto runway 11, making for a very scenic arrival into Dubrovnik Airport. So with that, let's get into the review of the scenery. Let's dive in by first talking about the terminal building, the crown jewel of this airport. The first thing that stands out is its modern design. The exterior is simply stunning. The detailed 3D modeling is complemented by excellent texturing, capturing the complex architecture without resorting to shortcuts like simpler polygons. The metal facade looks impressive up close, with realistic reflections adding to its authenticity. The windows feature a green tint, allowing users to clearly see inside the building. I personally would argue that it's almost too clear seeing into the building relative to real life, but it's nicely done for what the developer is shooting for. Just outside the terminal, there's a building housing the visual docking guiding system with a pastel yellow exterior that boasts a realistic paint texture. The custom modeled, fully functional jetways are another highlight. Inside the terminal, the attention to detail continues. The 3D modeling is particularly impressive, showing off the complex curves of the building masterfully recreated. The texture work seems like it was a fun challenge, especially with the varied flooring styles. However, not everything is perfect. Some of the stores inside the terminal don't quite fit in. Their coloration appears rather dark, not matching the surrounding lighting. These dark spots are noticeable even from the exterior, though they're not overly distracting. The terminal is populated with numerous people models, and while they mostly look great, a few of them appear to float and probably need to go see a doctor. The interior detailing extends even to the landside areas. iniBuilds has ambitiously modeled the entire interior of the airport, a significant undertaking for an international airport, and it's much appreciated. Now, for my favorite detail, where the developer really went above and beyond, there's a departure board in the entryway, and every airline, flight number, and destination is accurate. I checked. iniBuilds dev, I see and applaud your commitment to realism. Stepping outside to the land side, the exterior is just as well crafted, extending seamlessly into the car park just outside the airport perimeter. This airport also includes several buildings scattered around the field. On the west side of the terminal, there's a bunker-like storage facility. The storage-facing side looks great, but the rear is less impressive. The earthy texture doesn't blend well with the surrounding ground textures. On the east side, you'll find some beautifully modeled buildings, likely part of the airport's 2017 modernization. These structures are particularly well done, showcasing the developer's attention to detail. Great job to the devs on this one. The ground textures here are solid, with impressive accuracy and attention to detail. Everything appears true to life, capturing the variations in pavement textures as I could verify by comparing Google Maps and Navigraph charts. Starting with the runway, the textures and coloration are spot on, including the realistic wear marks. I want to give extra credit for how they've captured the repaving over old runway markings. It's an excellent match to the real-world counterpart. The level of accuracy extends to the taxiways and apron, with individual parking spots showing subtle wear details that add to the realism. The groundside areas are even more impressive. I think they've created the most detailed groundside textures I've ever seen in a flight sim. Fantastic work. That said, there's one segment where things might get a little bit hairy without four-wheel drive. My biggest critique of the ground textures would be the area around the end of runway 11. The texture of the man-made wall doesn't blend well with the surrounding ground textures in the flight sim. This probably won't really be noticed, as you really only see it on approach, and it's not glaring, but it's certainly not great. The entire airport looks fantastic at night. The lighting throughout the field is impressive, from the approach lights to the terminals. The apron area stands out with its bright volumetric lighting, creating a realistic and immersive atmosphere. The terminal truly shines after dark, thanks to the well-executed interior lighting that strikes a perfect balance. Bright, but not overpowering. I also want to give credit for the taxiway signs. They're well lit and highly legible, without any issues of excessive glow, maintaining clarity and realism. One of the key aspects I look for in a scenery at a smaller airport is how immersive the flight experience feels. In this regards, ini absolutely nailed it. Starting with the approach, the LOD profile for the terminal is spot on. The terminal doesn't suddenly pop into view as you get closer. It's visible from a distance as you turn on to final and just stays consistent, which prevents immersion breaking. As I arrived at the gate, I noticed a significant amount of ground clutter scattered around the airport, which is a detail I really appreciate. Additionally, the airport comes with a GSX profile that integrates seamlessly with the scenery. iniBuilds has created a profile that brings the terminal to life during boarding and deboarding, with plenty of people activity. The walking animations on the jetways are also well executed, with no issues of floating or clipping. From a performance perspective, it performs about the same as my other iniBuilds sceneries for smaller airports, so you can make a judgment call based on your past experience. So, in conclusion, should you buy this scenery? Priced at 15 British pounds, or about $19 US at time of recording, I think it's a fair deal. Overall, the scenery is incredibly well done, despite the minor issues I mentioned, most of which are bugs, which ini has proven historically to have a good track record of fixing. With its unique and fun approach, this airport will definitely be in my regular rotation of destinations. And that will do it for this review. For FS Elite, this has been Spencer. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see everyone next time.